Hey geeks, it's Jill, and look who I bumped into. How's it going today? Okay. So how do you like it here on Earth? I mean, it's all right. Well, I mean, we're trying to make it out to Mars. What do you guys think about us making it out to your planet? I don't know about that either. I think it's pretty cool here, though. What do you think about the Great Lakes Comic-Con? Well, thank you so much for visiting, and I hope that you come back and visit and stay with us. All right, guys. Catch you next time.
Hey, this is Mark at the Great Lakes Comic Con. I'm here with Danielle Petersen. Tell me, Danielle, what is everyone asking for or buying here at this show?
Well, the pre-code horror golden age is flying like hotcakes. People are really interested in that. As long as they've got a lot of money in their pocket, they're interested in it. Also, a lot of Silver Age Spider-Man is going really great. A lot of people asking about Fantastic Four early on. Back to Spider-Man, the first appearance of the Lizard, Hobgoblin, right? Yes, that too is lots of questions about those today.
So now you've taken over your dad's collection or inventory.
Yes.
So you got some beautiful books your dad accumulated over the years. Tell me, what is the crown jewel that you have here today?
Well, one of the crown jewels, my favorite of them all, is the Wolverine #1 9.9 graded. There are only 15 copies graded, period. 2 of them autographed. The 13 not. One of them is mine, and it's very nice. Also, obviously, Hulk 181. I sold a non-Mark Jewelers insert yesterday, but I still have a Mark Jewelers available today. Other than that, just kind of some random here and there things, but definitely a big emphasis on that pre-code horror golden age for sure. I've probably sold at least 6 books this weekend of that.
So we know you don't do too many shows. What's the next show you're going to be attending?
I'll definitely be at our Knights Hall Livonia show, but the best way to get in touch with me about my books is definitely through my eBay. It's Danielle Petersen 123. That's me. Maybe Baltimore. We'll see. That was a good show last year. I had a lot of fun going out there. There's also a lot of great food out there, so we shall see.
Appreciate talking to you, Danielle. This is Mark at the Great Lakes Comic Con.
Hey geeks, it's Jill, and I am here with Rachel. Hi, Rachel. How are you?
My name is RayGrey Cosplay, and I'm doing fabulous today.
Hi. Well, tell me what you are dressed as.
So I'm Fran from Final Fantasy 12, and I'm essentially a space pirate, but a bunny.
Very cool. So now, do you create all your own cosplay?
I do, yeah. I make it all by hand, all by myself.
So now you say you make all your own cosplay, and I know that you do some type of tutorials. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I'm actually doing a YouTube series right now that's called Gadgets and Gizmos, and it's more about the tools and like what you need to build things. So I do have a couple videos on there showing you how to build certain stuff. Like this is Worbla, so it's thermoplastic, and you heat it up and shape it into what it is you want it to look like. In this new, yeah, of course. In this new series, I'm just talking about the tools on how you would, say, use it to build something like this.
How do you introduce, like if I'm a new cosplayer and I want to make a costume, how would you get started?
Well, I mean, I would always tell them to start with smaller things. So definitely start with foam because it's easier to use. And Worbla, while it is fun and exciting, has a high price point sometimes because it's actually, they make it out of sawdust and they press it and it's like this kind of, you heat it up, it's kind of like dough sometimes.
I see that your costume is very detailed. How do you get it to be so defined?
Well, there's actually, especially for these, there's multiple layers. So there's like a smaller layer on the bottom and then there's a secondary layer on top and then a third layer on top of that. So it's foam layered onto foam, layer onto foam, and then the Worbla is on top.
So how are you getting in and out of these costumes?
Difficulty.
My number one question is like, how do you go to the bathroom?
Actually, this one's easy because it's like a separate part, right?
I see.
So it's not as bad because it's a separate part, but normally I'd have to like derobe everything. These are hard to get on and off. They slide on and off, but it takes a little bit of effort to just like yank it on and off.
And you made the headpiece and everything.
Yeah, they move too. Like I can pose them.
I love when people create their own costumes and it's authentic. So you're like the dream for cosplayers. So if you guys are interested in getting into cosplay, you don't know where to start, follow her. She's got some good tips and tools on how to get started. Thank you so much.
If you have any questions, just reach out and let me know.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
thank you so much for sharing your secrets because we need them.
Yeah.
You're awesome.
I want to see more in the world. I want to see more people actually like build their stuff and like create more. I want creation back in the world.
Yes.
It'd be
Yes.
so good, right?
We need the creators.
We need it.
We need you guys. So like, subscribe, follow, and create. We want to see you.
Stay inspired.
Hey, this is Mark at the Great Lakes Comic Con. I'm here with Kevin Morton of K-Mort Comics. Tell me, Kevin, what are people asking for at this show?
Turtles to get the signatures on. And surprisingly, nobody's really asking for slabs.
Really?
No, not really. Turtles is the one request. Everybody's been over that all across the board with this show. It's really weird. Most shows, there's a hot book that somebody wants. No, it's just all over the board. Modern, new, old. I can't narrow it down to just one thing.
And is this your first show here at Great?
This is my first show selling at Great Lakes. I always come to this show. I think it's the best show in Michigan. It's low key. It's not all the hype and all the expense with Motor City. It's cheap to walk in the door. Everybody's in a good mood, good crowd. Mike does an awesome show. Good celebrities. It's the show when I want to buy. I come to when I want to go to a good comic show in Michigan.
So, being your first show where you're setting up here, are you having a good show?
I'm having an awesome show because I've got a whole gambit of stuff. I'm not locked into one age of comics, and so I got a good run of everything. So I seem to cater to everybody coming through. But I will be back definitely.
What's the biggest book you got here for sale?
I already sold them this day. I sold a giant size X-Men yesterday. I sold a 9/8 X-Men 141 First Days of Future Past, and I just sold a first Deadpool. So yeah, it's been a great show.
Are you able to eat for the next week?
I'll be able to eat, but I had a great day. I only made $598, but it's been a good show.
So what do you foresee being the next hot book coming out down the pipeline, the next hot character? Use your psychic abilities.
Taylor Swift, Dazzler. Get your T-Swift stock now.
Kevin, it was a pleasure speaking with you and getting your insight on the whole comic industry. And this is Mark at the Great Lakes Comic Con. Hey, this is Mark at the Great Lakes Comic Con. I'm here with Tim Buildhouser of Warehouse Comics, Toys and Games. Tell me, what's selling here at the Great Lakes Comic Con?
Primarily the Silver and Bronze Age.
Any particular issues that people are looking for?
We've had a lot of people looking at some of the books, like the two Golden Age actions that we have up there. The House of Secrets 92's gotten a lot of attention. I sold a Hulk 6 earlier that was a 7.5, rated through CBCS. But a lot of raw sales on bronze and silver.
You're doing well today?
Oh, fantastic.
Well, you guys have the juice, and I should know because I spent some quality time with these guys a little while ago.
You did. You bought some beautiful books.
That's right. Hey, tell me, how long have you guys been in business?
So the store just opened in August of last year. There's 5 partners involved. One had a comic shop, one had a card gaming shop, another one had a tabletop gaming shop, and there's a couple other guys involved, and they just kind of pulled everything under one roof. The store is 15,000 square feet, and it's kind of a geek paradise.
It's in the South Bend area.
Yeah, South Bend, Mishawaka.
Okay, you talked about some of the books up here, the House of Secrets 92. What is the crown jewel you have here?
It's hard to say. We've got a lot of nice inventory. As far as what we have here, I'm partial to that House of Secrets myself, but I'm a huge Barney Wrightson fan. But the Batman 171 that we've got, that cover just glows. It's a nice bright pink. And we did just this week work out a trade at the store, picked up a 4/5 Spider-Man #1. So
you're a collector yourself. What do you like to collect?
My collection is unlike anything anybody's ever seen. I collect a lot of foreign editions, so American material printed in other countries, translated.
Like in Montreal.
Yes. I have stuff from Quebec in French, stuff from all over Europe, a lot of stuff from Mexico, Australia. I've got stuff from Lebanon, and it's just kind of all over the board.
What do you foresee people asking for down the pipeline? What's the next hot book? Even if it's an older book, or the next hot character that people are going to be asking about?
It's hard to say, because a lot of that is contingent on what movies are in production or what shows Netflix, Hulu has, coming up. Just by the time a property gets licensed, it's pretty much a guarantee that prices are going to start jumping up on that series.
Certain pop stars get rumored to play a certain role in an upcoming movie.
Absolutely.
Well, anyways, it was a pleasure speaking with you. And if you're in the South Bend area, check out their store. They've got a magnificent array of great books here. Silver, bronze, golden. You'll love it. Check them out. Here at the Great Lakes Comic Con and in South Bend.
Hey everyone, it's Nick with Comic Experience Sci-Fi. We're at Great Lakes Comic Con, February 2024. I'm here with legendary Marvel writer and artist Bob Budiansky, and we're glad to see you. Tell us first, how did you get started as a professional in the comics industry?
I went to college, and a friend of mine from college got a job at Marvel. And when he quit his job, he said, he knew I was interested in that kind of stuff. He said, would you like to interview for my job as an entry-level editorial assistant? And I said, sure. And I dropped out of graduate school in transportation engineering, and I took an entry-level job at Marvel as an editorial assistant.
What year was that?
1976.
Oh, okay. So you were there quite early, because I know you were doing the writing in the 80s.
I was there for 20 years.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I did a lot of different things over those 20 years.
Well, you didn't mention anything about being a comic enthusiast yourself before you took that job. Did you grow up?
I grew up reading comics. I love drawing comic-style artwork for myself. And got to high school, I stopped reading comics. Got to college, got interested in them again. And I was a graphic arts editor for our student newspaper, so I was doing a lot of artwork for the student newspaper. So yes, definitely had an interest. At the time, my friend approached me and said, you want to interview for my job?
Okay, what comics did you enjoy?
When I was growing up, I read Justice League of America, Green Lantern, The Flash, Superman. Then I got a little older, I started reading Fantastic Four and Spider-Man, started moving over to Marvel. And then, like I said, eventually I gave it up, and then I got back into the 70s when I was in college. I learned about Conan. I discovered there's a whole new brand of sword and sorcery comics that did not exist when I was a kid. So I got into that.
Okay, and then once you got that sort of entry position at Marvel, how did your career evolve from there?
Well, there were opportunities to do artwork, and I was still not really at the level where I could do professional artwork for Marvel, but I was in an ideal position to learn. So I was working with my boss, who had a lot of artwork experience. He was a great artist himself, and I worked with art directors like Marie Severin and John Romita Sr. And so I was just exposed all left and right to people who were always giving me advice, great advice. So I was able to rise to the point where eventually I was able to quit my staff job, become a full-time freelance artist drawing Ghost Rider for Marvel. And then I went back on staff as a full editor.
Were you a little starstruck to be working for John Romita, obviously somebody you knew from reading comics?
Yeah. I was amazed that here I was a kid reading his comics, a few years earlier. Now I'm working with him, and in some cases, some of these people wound up working for me. Like I mentioned, Green Lantern was one of my favorite comic books when I was a kid. Gil Kane was the artist on that, and in the 90s, he was working for me on Spider-Man when I was a Spider-Man editor.
That's amazing. It's kind of like I read Bob Budiansky as a kid. Now here I am interviewing him. 40th anniversary of the Transformers comic book. How did you become involved with that?
So I was a staff editor at Marvel by this point in 1983, and Marvel had made a deal with Hasbro Toys to develop Transformers into a comic book property and come up with a storyline for it. And my boss, the editor-in-chief, Jim Shooter, he wrote a treatment for the Transformers, gave it to Hasbro. I guess they approved it. And then he went about hiring one of the editors, who had a senior editor who had a lot of writing experience, to develop all the characters. And for whatever reasons, that didn't work out. And then he went down from one editorial office to another, asking if anybody would take these 26 characters and come up with names for them and profiles over the weekend before Thanksgiving of 1983. And one after the other, they turned him down because it was a crazy assignment. And it finally got to me out of desperation, because I was not known as a writer-editor, I was known as an artist-editor. And he said, Bob, you want to give it a try? And I said, sure, I'm not doing anything this weekend. So over the weekend, 2 of the names we had already, I came up with 24 other names for the other 20, so we had a total of 26 characters, wrote the profiles. Jim Shooter liked my work, gave it to Hasbro to approve. They reviewed it, they liked it, and from then on, I was the guy for the next 5 years at Marvel developing Transformer characters as new ones came aboard, and I wrote the comic book for about 4 years, and I was edited the 4-issue miniseries that it began with, so I had a lot of involvement over those years. By the end of that span, I had named about 250 characters for Hasbro.
That's amazing. I was in high school at the time, and I was working at a toy store, and of course then the Transformer toys were made out of metal. They were very cool. How did you feel about the idea of tying a toy line to, was there any artistic, like, this is selling out or anything like that? Or you're like, no, this is a great opportunity to create a new world of characters?
Oh, I looked at it as a great opportunity. I mean, I know the whole point of it, the whole point of Hasbro coming to Marvel to put out a comic book was to help them sell toys. But that was not my concern. My concern was I was presented with an opportunity, it was a challenge, I had to come up with all these crazy names and all these crazy ideas about who these characters were and what they did, and I had some experience already. I worked at Marvel by this point, for like 7 years or so I had some knowledge of these things. And so I just thought it was a wonderful opportunity. And what made it fun for me to write Transformers comic book was it was not connected to the Marvel Universe. So I really was able to just expand in any direction I wanted to go, not worrying about, well, we already have, these characters in this world and this dimension and all. I didn't have to worry about any of that stuff.
What's interesting about that is Micronauts and ROM were toy lines, but they were in the Marvel Universe.
Yeah, and actually we did touch upon the Marvel Universe in a couple of Transformers comic books. We were very naive back then. We just said, oh, let's try this, let's try that. But generally we were separate, and we remained separate for that most of that time. Yeah.
What do you think about Transformers being, to this day, as huge as it is?
I think it's great. I think it's kind of amazing. I mean, I'm kind of used to it by now, but when I was writing the comic book, my only concern was I have to finish this story so I could start next month's story. I wasn't thinking that 30, 40 years later, people would still care about this stuff. Comic books is a very transitory medium. You read one month, you put down the comic, you read the next month's issue. You don't think about, like, in 30, 40 years, they're going to still be reprinting your stuff, referring to your stuff, interviewing me about my stuff. It just wasn't in my head back then. I was just worried about what was I going to do next month. So when it came back in a big way, especially with the movies in the 2000 aughts, I thought, it's amazing. Not only are they making movies, they're making live action movies. I would never have expected that.
Computer, special effects.
Yeah. It just, just the fact that it had so much life still in it all these years later, and I think it's great. And it's great for me because I did something that people still remember, and they seem to still cherish it, and they come up to me and ask me questions about why did I do this and how did I do that, and I'm always happy to speak to all the fans of the work, and it's great.
And lastly, are you working on anything these days, or are you just doing the circuit and meeting fans?
This is, as my daughter would put it, this is my side hustle. Okay. So I do conventions, I do some commissions, but I have a day job that has nothing to do with any of this, and I still have that job and keeps me sane.
Thanks for talking to us, Bob. We appreciate it.
Hey, this is Mark at the Great Lakes Comic-Con. I'm here with Carl Moore. He's a dealer with classic collectibles. Well, he used to be a dealer years ago and just kind of went in hibernation and decided to come back out with this massive collection of Golden Age, Silver Age, Bronze stuff. Tell us, how's the show going for you?
It's going very well. I mean, I've been selling a lot of ECs, pre-code horror. Actually, I've been selling a lot of Charlton and Bronze Age stuff from the 70s. I'm surprised. It's been going really well.
I know you were doing a little pre-marketing for the last couple of weeks at the other shows, letting everyone know you're bringing out all this cool stuff.
Yeah.
So how was the reception with the people that you talked to?
Oh, yeah. I mean, everybody remembers me from the good old days back in the 90s when I packed it in. All this stuff's been in storage since the 90s. I decided it's time for it to go in the hands of people who want it, collectors, dealers, so they can make some money off it. So I spent last summer cleaning all this up, gotten all new boxes and boards, and I like to see this stuff go to people who want to enjoy it. So that's why I decided to set up this weekend. Hopefully a few more people will stop by, buy a few more books. Some of this stuff will get a nice home. Otherwise, it's going back into storage again.
So do you have any plans of coming back out to do any more sales?
No. I mean, I'm doing so well this weekend. I might decide to do it every year from now, but I'm not making that guarantee. But I'm just too old to be doing the monthly stuff anymore and traveling and no.
Now, was this part of your personal collection or just
This was my old inventory from back when I was in the day.
do you have your own personal collection?
Not really. I've got a couple of books here and there, but nothing, nothing too exciting. I don't know if I can say this on air, but I collect Zombie Tramp and things like that. Yeah, but other than that, Golden Age, Silver Age, no, not really.
Well, anyways, Carl, it was a pleasure speaking with you, and welcome back for a short period. I was glad to go through your stuff to see, because I picked up a few things yesterday. So
I treated you right.
Oh, you were a gentleman, you were a gentleman.
That's the way I was back in the day. Give guys, if I make a little money, fine, but you gotta give people something. Let them save a little money, add something to their collection. You go home with some money, fine. I'm cool with it.
Well, it was a pleasure. And this is Mark at the Great Lakes Comic Con with Carl Moore.
Hi, Mike. How are you?
I'm well. How are you doing today?
Good. So tell me a little bit about what you guys have going on over here.
Okay, well, we're the 501st Legion. We're a global Star Wars costuming group. What you have here is what's called the Great Lakes Garrison, so we're kind of like the Michigan chapter of the 501st.
What is it exactly that you guys do?
So we are costume builders, and of course we kind of concentrate on Star Wars, so we try to keep our costumes as movie accurate as possible.
Okay, so you guys build costumes as well.
So everything you see here on the table on display, and of course the uniforms that you see next to us, are actually built by the guys and gals that wear them, or the droids over here that drive them. So that's what we do. So on top of that, as a Star Wars organization, we also do a lot of different charity work. So today we're collecting for Make-A-Wish Foundation, so any kind of donations we get today will go directly to them. But we also work very closely with any other kind of charitable organizations in the area that might request our appearances.
Very cool. Now, if somebody wanted to get involved with your guys' group, how would they go about doing that?
Okay, well, we've got 2 rules to join the group. First rule is you got to be 18 years or older, which everyone can eventually get there. And then you have to have a movie-accurate costume. So it seems a little daunting at first, but we do have, if you go to 501st.com, we have an extensive costume reference library. Every costume or uniform that you might be interested, and kind of the details on how to get to what you need to do to pass our criteria for being part of the membership. So once you're part of the group, the only requirement that you have to do to be still active is do 1 troop per year. So that could be a Comic-Con, could be a charity function, anything like that. Just one a year, so it's not a huge commitment, but you can do as many as you'd like. Being 100% volunteer, we can't commit to everything, so we all have day jobs. The Empire is great, but it doesn't pay that well. There is a function that you can request an appearance from us by our website.
Very cool, very cool. Well, you guys definitely need to check that out. Thank you so much, Mike, for everything you guys do. It's such a beautiful group. I love when you see cosplay and charity combined. It's just a beautiful blend. Thank you so much. We appreciate what you do.
Thank you very much, and thanks for stopping by.
Hey, this is Mark at the Great Lakes Comic Con. I'm here with Joe of Just Joe King Comics. Tell me, what are people asking for at this show?
Man, it seems like Transformers are real hot, G.I. Joe, A lot of horror books are coming back. I know you like the war books. I got to keep an eye out for those, but he took them all.
Anyway, so what particular characters are people asking about?
Again, Transformers, a lot of X-Men sells a lot. Spider-Man, of course, just flies off the shelf. We are selling raw books from different prices. We have slabs. People are buying slabs like crazy today. More cartoon books, like cartoony-looking art, is picking up now, like Scotty Young, Chrissy Zulo. Those books are really hot right now, and yeah, we have a little bit of everything here.
Now, you guys are out of Ohio. Have you been doing the stealing very long?
I started on eBay a long time ago, got away from that, went to Facebook, Whatnot for a couple of years, and now we're trying to branch out, broaden our horizons per se, and we're doing vending all around Michigan, Ohio, Indiana. So we're hopefully climb the ladder here and get bigger and better.
So how's today's show working out for you?
It's going well, man. I'm having a blast. It's our first time here at Great Lakes Comic-Con, so we're loving the cosplay. We're loving the fans. There's something for everybody here. I love it.
Now, let's use some of your psychic ability and tell me, who do you think is going to be the next hot character, book, whatever, that people are going to be asking for?
If I had to, let me rub my magic 8-ball, okay? Oh, it's a little clammy up there, but I think Miles Morales is the next big character that's going to take off to the moon. Absolutely, Miles Morales.
What do you think about this Dazzler rumor coming out?
You know what? Let me show you something real quick, actually.
Okay.
Brandy, Psycho Punk Chick, made this limited edition Dazzler etch, X-Men 130. You can see Taylor Swift on the cover, on the actual slab here. Let me give you a closer look. We got Taylor Swift with the signature etched by my lovely girlfriend, beautiful girlfriend.
Yes.
Psycho Punk Chick.
Anyways, that's really cool. She did a really great job on that.
Yeah, thank you.
Do you collect? And if you do, how did you get started?
I do collect, but I'm more in it for the art. So I like Alex Ross, I like David Nakayama, some of the classics, Jack Kirby, all those guys, John Romita Sr., and older junior stuff. So for me, it's the cover art. So I'm more of like the slab guy. I like getting things slabbed, hang it on the wall. So yes, I do have a collection, but it's like nothing too like keys or anything like that, important issues. I just like the cover.
Joe, it was a pleasure speaking with you and hearing about your little insight here on the comic industry.
Right.
And this is Mark at the Great Lakes Comic Con.
You know I love my cosplay, but who doesn't love a good mashup? Hi guys, so you guys are all mashed up. Can you tell me a little bit about what's going on?
Absolutely. My suit personally is a mashup of Darth Maul's basically paint job into a Mandalorian color scheme.
Clearly we have Mandalorian and Loki. So where did this concept come from?
Well, he 3D printed my armor, but it was like a design that I wanted because I'm a huge Loki fan, and I thought mashing up, you know, the Mandalorian with Loki would be really cool. So, you know, here I am.
Now tell me a little bit about your mashup.
It's a Toph-based Mandalorian from Avatar, Last Airbender.
So how long did it take for you guys to like put all of this together?
It took me about a year. I could have got it done in about a month, I guarantee you.
Any good fan that loves cosplay can appreciate a good mashup. So keep cosplaying, keep creating. We love it. You guys are awesome.
Hey, this is Mark at the Great Lakes Comic Con. I'm here with Roger Haight of Argo Books out in Grand Rapids. Tell us what's selling here at the Great Lakes Comic Con.
Silver Age keys, Golden Age is always hot, as always. Minor keys, it seems like the smaller keys are really selling this week. People are dropping some bigger money, but not, you know, the huge money.
You have a lot of in-card Star Wars action figures. You don't really see too much of that because everyone liked to open those up back in the 70s and 80s and play with them or display them. And these are pretty cool that you got here.
Yeah, we got a lot of them. They're clear bubble, very high grade collection that we had come in recently. A lot of people asking about them, but they come with a big price. So
which book here is the jewel of what you have here for sale on the wall? Big book.
See, the one that seems to be drawing the most interest is the baffling Mystery in Space #1 is another one that seems to draw a lot of attention.
Very rare.
Yeah, we had House of Secrets '92 that sold earlier. So
What particular books are people asking for?
Seems like, I mean, everybody's always asking for early Amazing Spider-Man. First 20 issues seems to be the thing they're often asking for. Early Batman, but Golden Age is really, it's Golden Age. It's pre-code horror.
Tell us a little bit about your store. How did you, when did you open your store, and how's it going?
Well, the store is actually the oldest in Michigan. It's Argo's Comics and Used Books in Grand Rapids. It's been there since '75, but my wife and I, we purchased it 2 years ago. We've been trying to bring comics to the forefront again there. Kind of fallen to the wayside for a little bit there. So breathing new life into it. Yeah, digging through our basement. So,
of course, you go to a lot of shows, you meet a lot of people. How's that working out for you?
It's our favorite part, actually. I think shows are always going to be some of our, favorite part of this whole thing. We meet lots of new people, see a lot of new comics. And yeah, we're collectors too, so yeah, we enjoy it. We do it as a family affair. Wife couldn't be with me this time, but got my daughter with us this time.
Brought her clone.
Yeah, yep, she's a little clone of her. So
how did you start collecting?
I started collecting in '86, and then it's been off and on love affair. When I had time for it. When kids came along, I sold a big chunk of my collection, and then pandemic hit. I was, getting back into it. My son got me back into collecting comics. He found some of my old stuff, and with all the extra, I was a wedding planner before the pandemic started, and wasn't planning anything but cancellations for first year and a half of that, and gave me time to buy comics again, and then kept telling the wife it was going to be, easy for sale if I, and she saw that we were able to actually do well at the shows, and local shop came up for sale, and here we are.
Let's use your psychic ability. What do you foresee being the next hot book coming down the pipeline? It could be new, could be old. What do you think people are going to be asking for soon?
Amethyst? I'm kidding.
We wish. There's so much of that out there. You'd make a fortune on all those copies.
I think with the way James Gunn, a lot of this is so driven by the movies that are happening. James Gunn being at the helm over there at the DC universe. I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing Superman books, that are languishing, Wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing those, start to tick up. Fantastic Four is obviously going to be a next thing that's hot. So, yeah, the Omega Men 3, I think, is a good investment for people. It's, low entry level. Yeah, first Lobo. And I think we'll probably see more love as people gravitate or get away from just the pre-code horror. Probably see more of the getting into the space adventures kind of stuff too. I think that's an area I think is being underappreciated at the moment. More Atomic Age kind of Flash Gordon. There's great Frazetta stuff in there, but those aren't being overlooked. Most of us want those. We know. Famous Funny.
You need to get the word out for the younger audience.
Yeah.
The younger reader.
Oh yeah, get the 30-somethings and 20-somethings. Get them out here and collecting with us. Keep this industry alive.
Well, it was a pleasure speaking with you, Roger. And if you're out in the Grand Rapids area, check out Argo Books. It's a really cool, eclectic comic book store. I've been there myself, so you'll really like it. So again, this is Mark, Great Lakes with Roger.
Hey everyone, it's Nick at Great Lakes Comic-Con 2024. I'm here with Rick Goldschmidt, who is the historian and biographer of the Rankin Bass animation company that we all know, most of us know from the classic Christmas specials, but they have a lot more on their resume than that. So Rick, let me first start with your connection to Rankin Bass. How did you become involved, and how did you get to this point?
Well, I right out of college, my degree was in art illustration, and I became good friends with Jack Davis and Paul Coker Jr. right out of Mad Magazine. And I knew Jack had designed Mad Monster Party for Rankin Bass, which was always one of my favorite projects. And I said, whatever happened to Arthur Rankin and Jules Bass? You never hear anything about him. I never read anything about him. And he said, oh, I'm still doing work for Arthur. You should give Paul Coker a call. And I did, and Paul gave me Arthur's phone number in Bermuda, And I called him up and I said, you know, there really should be a book. And he said, send me 2 chapters. So I went and made up 2 chapters and I sent it to him and he liked it. And a package came with a little micro cassette with his life story on his business, you know, how he got into doing Rankin Bass. So I worked on my first book, The Enchanted World of Rankin Bass, for about 7 years. And when it finally came out in '97, he came over to my home to make sure I was all legit. And he liked what he saw. And I just became sort of the holder of all the Rankin Bass archives. So all the photographs, all the artwork, everything I have in my possession. And I worked with all of the great people. And we're talking about Don Duga, Maury Laws, Jules Bass, you know, all the people that worked on the specials. And they all were great people and opened up their archives to me. So that's where I got into it.
Okay, well, as I mentioned some of the Christmas specials, now, Rankin Bass, a lot of people know them for the stop motion. Is that stop motion actually the correct term for what they did?
It was animagic. It was all done in Japan, 1 frame at a time with small dolls. They kind of were about this size for Rudolph, and they would just manipulate their joints and make them move on screen, which is kind of tedious. I could never be a stop-motion animator, but the Japanese were experts, and Arthur loved the culture there, so he oversaw it. Jules never went to Japan. It was just Arthur who went to Japan. He loved the culture, he loved the people, and that's how they got their animagic done.
Interesting. So give us a quick story of their studio. What did they start with, and how did they progress, and how did they find that niche of holiday movies? Because they also did the Easter Bunny's Coming to Town and Rudolph's New Year, etc.
Right. Well, everything came out of New York, first of all. Arthur had residents that he turned half of it into business addresses in the early days. So all of the people, like I mentioned, Jack Davis, Paul Coker, they were all living in New York at the time. So they would get the artists and Maury Laws to do the music, and everything was done in the States. Then they went to Canada initially for the voice work. Paul Souls, Billy May Richards, all the people that we know. Larry Mann, who was a Canadian who came to the States and was in all the television shows of our past. He became an actor in the U.S. So Canada was big for the voice acting segment, and then they worked with the musicians in England. Maury Laws went to England to live and did all his orchestrations there. Initially, they were known as Videocraft International, and that was because they were an international company. They got into the Christmas stuff because of Rudolph, solely because of Rudolph. They thought Return to Oz, which was the first special they did for the General Electric Fantasy Hour, would be a much bigger deal than Rudolph. But Rudolph turned out to be the big hit, and then everybody wanted a Christmas special from them. And eventually they did The Little Drummer Boy and Frosty and Santa Claus is Coming to Town.
Nestor the Long-Eared Donkey.
Right. And the animation actually got a little bit more, better as it went along, but I like the earlier designs by Tony Peters best. Rudolph, Willie McBean and his Magic Machine. Some of the early stuff is really what drew me into Rankin Bass.
Sure. You know, Rudolph and Frosty, for example, were based on existing songs. Right. So the story came from So how did they pick those particular songs?
Well, Johnny Marks was a neighbor of Arthur Rankin's, so that's why Rudolph was the first. But Romeo Muller, who was the writer, created all of the other characters. So with the storybook that was at Montgomery Ward's by Robert L. May, that just focused on Rudolph and Santa. Romeo brought in the Island of Misfit Toys, Hermie the dentist, all of the Yukon Cornelius. So Romeo Muller played a huge role in taking the song, like from Frosty, Santa Claus is Coming to Town, and developing it with a whole bunch of other characters that, especially the Heat Miser and Snow Miser, are so popular. He really was responsible for creating most of it.
The music that he did is an embarrassment of riches. Put one foot in front of the other. Almost every song in Santa Claus is Coming to Town is a classic in its own right. Not that the rest of the specials didn't have great music, but I mean, it's and I watch these every year to this day. I have the DVD box sets, and I'm just blown away by how good the music is.
Well, Maury Laws was a very close friend of mine. I'm a musician also. I've recorded music with the Gym Blossoms, and I know about recording techniques and mastering and all of that. And Maury lived in Appleton, Wisconsin, and his son lived in downtown Chicago. So whenever he visited his son, I would meet up with him and have dinner. And he really respected that I was a musician and that I knew how important the music was and how it was a bigger piece of the puzzle than most people give it credit for. And then Jules Bass wrote the lyrics, which were always great, and they fit into they didn't just stop and do a song. It had to fit the storyline, like put one foot in front of the other and all the others.
Yeah, you know, and a lot of those were kind of slightly traumatic. I must say that the most traumatic part of every Christmas is when Santa comes into the greenhouse and Karen is crying over the puddle that was Frosty. Did it ever occur to them when they wrote that Karen had to witness the melting of Frosty?
Well, it was significant, but obviously he came back to life with Santa's help.
After we're done.
Yeah. Yeah, and also Baba and the little drummer boy getting hit by the, Nestor. Well, that came from Bambi. It was sort of a Bambi tribute. Usually Romeo wrote completely free of any kind of other writing, but that was more of a Bambi writing.
And another Christmas-themed special. So let's switch gears a little bit over to Tolkien. So how did they become involved with The Hobbit? And then they did Return of the King, but Ralph Bakshi did Lord of the Rings. So are they connected, and how did they get started in that?
Well, they got the rights to the book initially, and whoever owned the rights, I was talking to somebody earlier today. I think Tolkien had already passed away, but his estate was working with Arthur and Jules. And at some point in the development of The Hobbit, they said, we don't want you to do this. But it came to, we already bought the rights. We can do it. We're going to do it. And they won a Peabody and a Christopher Award, which is a very prestigious thing in animation to win those awards. So that led not only to Return of the King, but it led to them doing a lot of fantasy art with The Last Unicorn, Flight of Dragons. They did a Wind in the Willows, which was very kind of fantasy-like. So it was a totally different style and direction for Rankin Bass. But they like to try a lot of different things. Eventually they got into making feature films for like the ABC Friday night movie, The Bermuda Depths and The Last Dinosaur. And they made a movie called Marco with Desi Arnaz Jr., which was a live-action movie. Unfortunately, they never got a really big budget to make the kind of movies Arthur did want to make. But they were very experimental at the time they did The Hobbit. And it really... it brought in a whole new fan base, too. I appeared at Dragon Con in Atlanta, and I did 5 panels there. And one of them was strictly about the fantasy films. And every panel I did was crowded. It was full. So there's all different kinds of fan bases for the Rankin Bass.
How was it they didn't do Two Towers and Fellowship of the Ring, and that went to Bakshi?
Yeah, I think some of it became public domain. Some of it couldn't even be aired in Canada either, is what Arthur was telling me. And he was very dissatisfied with Return of the King because it combined more than one book, I think. And he thought it was too much.
So their Return of the King wasn't necessarily meant to be a direct sequel to Bakshi's.
Right. And their Return of the King, I learned later from seeing it on YouTube, it first aired as part of the ABC Friday night movie or the Wednesday night movie or something. Yeah. It wasn't like a TV special. The Hobbit was for the Xerox company. So The Hobbit was huge. Everybody wanted to see it because they read the book. All the kids I went to school with were reading the book. So it was like huge to see what they actually look like.
There was a great coffee table book that came out at the time. I always wanted it. Okay, so lastly, what's the legacy of Rankin Bass? Are they still as popular as ever? Are young people discovering still Rudolph and all these shows?
I'm finding that Rankin Bass is an inflation-proof business because everybody wants to go back to when times were good for them, their childhood, and just not think about all the horrible things that are going on in the world. And there's generation after generation, they show it to their kids, and their kids show it to their kids. And Rudolph is 60 this year, and The Year Without a Santa Claus and 'Twas the Night Before Christmas, which is another great special, are 50 this year. And that's going to be my 7th book on The Year Without a Santa Claus and 'Twas the Night Before Christmas. I love those specials. And
in Night Before Christmas was traditional animation, like Frosty. What made them go back and forth sometimes from stop motion to traditional animation?
Well, if they were in production with, say, Santa Claus is Coming to Town, and it takes like a year to do Animagic, or 18 months in some cases, all they could do if they sold the special to another network, say NBC or CBS, they can only offer it to them and sell animation. So they would hire Mushi or Toei in Japan while the animators were working on, say, Nestor or something like that. Yeah, so they couldn't always do. Right. But they did want it to look like the Paul Coker artwork, and the only way they could do that is in cell animation. It doesn't really look like his artwork in Animagic. So,
what's next for you?
My book and a couple more appearances this year. With the 60th of Rudolph, I'll probably be on CBS's national news, and it gets a lot of attention when it's a big anniversary like that. So it's always fun to celebrate, what really makes the holiday great for me is the traditional Rudolph and Santa Claus is Coming to Town and Frosty. They did all the classic Christmas characters. I mean, Charlie Brown is great. Mr. Magoo, Christmas Carol is great. The Grinch is great, but they don't have Santa and Frosty and reindeer and all the things that we love about Christmas in them, and Rankin Bass does.
So where can we get your books?
Well, at Miser Bros, like the Heat Miser and Snow Miser, miserbros.com. That's MISERBROS. Or I have an Etsy shop. I have books in the Amazon Marketplace, and I'm on eBay under Miser Bros too. Okay. So I always personalize and draw in the books as well.
Thanks again.
Hey, this is Mark at the Great Lakes Comic-Con. I'm here with Tony Capo of Robot Zero Comics. Tell us, what's selling here today?
A lot of Amazing Spider-Man. We sold a graded 9.2, issue 121, The Death of Gwen Stacy, earlier today. What else did we sell? We sold another big book, too. What was it? It'll come to me here in a moment, but we also sold Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. #1 today, along with a couple others.
Now, are there certain books that people are asking for that maybe you have or don't have?
Yeah, we've had a few requests that I couldn't fill. Some more stuff that's more like independent or underground stuff that I just don't have with me today.
How long have you been in business?
8 years. As of, will be 9 years this year in October.
You got a lot of experiencing in the comic book market. Tell us, what do you foresee being like the next hot book?
The next hot book? Are we talking about stuff that's coming out right now, or maybe
the old stuff?
Older stuff? I would say anything Deadpool right now. With his new movie coming out in July, people are going to be ramping up, getting ready for it. Actually, I picked up a copy of a 9.6 first appearance of Deadpool this week. So not too old, but 30 years or so.
So you came all the way over here from just, was it east of Cleveland?
Yeah, 3 hours, 45 minutes to come to Great Lakes Comic-Con today, yeah.
So it's going pretty good for you?
So far, so good, yeah, I can't complain. This is my 4th year here. I enjoy it. It's always a good crowd. People are always happy. It's a fun time.
And you also have a brick and mortar store. You said you've had that for like 8 years now? Is that what?
Yeah, going on 9 years this year. We're in Geneva, Ohio. We're 45 minutes east of Cleveland. We are right up on Lake Erie and about a half an hour from the PA border.
Do you have an online presence?
We do, yeah. It's robot-0.com. We sell a lot of toys on our website. Not too many comics.
You do a lot of shows all across the Midwest?
Yeah, we try to. We go from Pittsburgh to Detroit right now is where we go. Sometimes we're thinking about going down to Cincinnati for a show, but we try to keep it within 3 or 4 hours.
Are you a collector? And if so, what do you collect?
I do collect some stuff. I'm more of a person, if it catches my eye, if it's a character I enjoy, I'll pick it up. I don't have one focus on any one thing. It's more just what I enjoy. So if I look at something and like it, I'll grab it. That's my theory on collecting.
How long, now you've been in business for 8 years, but how long have you been a collector?
Since I was probably 10, 12 years old. My mom tried to get us to read when we were younger. She wanted us to read more. So she would go to garage sales, and she read Archie as a kid. So she would pick up stacks of Archie. If it was good enough for her, it was good enough for us. So my brothers and I would sit around reading Archie comics all the time, Mad Magazine, Cracked Magazine, and then we discovered our local comic shop, and then we started with X-Men and Spider-Man and Marvel and DC and all the fun stuff.
Rest was history.
That's right.
Hey, folks, if you're ever like in the Midwest area and you go to a Comic-Con, make sure you check out Tony's booth. He's got a lot of great stuff.
Instantly recognized strawberry shortcake. So nostalgic. What made you choose this?
Actually, my mom had said that she loved strawberry shortcake, and she thought that would be a really great idea. So I was like, all right, I'll do it. And next thing I know, I smell like it. I look like it.
Smell like her too?
I do.
Oh my God, she smells like strawberries. I love it. Now you are just so creative and colorful. What are you dressed as?
I'm dressed as Velvet from Trolls Band Together. I just really wanted to cosplay her because I just love her costume design. I thought it was so cute and creative, and I was like, I need to make this.
So tell me a little bit about this character. Where's she from?
She is from Mount Regis. It is a land in Trolls Band Together. So they basically all have their own sections in the world.
How long did it take for you to put this whole look together?
Surprisingly, I did have to con crunch a lot, but it took me about a month and a half to get it all together. It is all handmade entirely.
Hey, this is Mark at the Great Lakes Comic-Con. I'm here with Tim Hershberger of Lantern Comics. Tell me, Tim, what are people asking for here at this show?
Actually, I sold a lot of Japanese movie programs. I sold Golden Age Captain Marvel slabs today. A lot of DC. So I sold a lot of DC $10, $20 books. So it looks like DC Silver is starting to come back.
You think it has anything to do with the James Gunn new movie being getting ready to shoot and the excitement behind that, Superman Legacy?
Possibly, but I really think that DC Silver has been undervalued for so long, and people are starting to catch on to it. It's all been Marvel for the last several years. So DC kind of, I don't know, say it's the redheaded stepchild, but it has been. So there's a lot of deals to be made, and like I said, a lot of DC Silver I think is highly undervalued at this point in time.
And you carry a lot of that stuff, which is good to see a lot of that stuff being moved.
Absolutely, it's
I'd like to see you happy.
I'm happy this weekend, absolutely.
What do you foresee people wanting to get besides the DC books, or a particular character in DC? What do you think people are going to be asking for soon?
So even with the Superman Legacy, I haven't seen a lot of movement or interest in Superman yet, but Batman's always the big seller.
crown jewel DC unit.
Yeah.
Anyways, Tim, it was a pleasure speaking with you, and appreciate your economic insight on the matter. And this is Mark at the Great Lakes Comic Con.
Master Splinter. We are reaching the 40th anniversary for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. How do you feel about that?
I'm very excited for my sons. Very excited.
Can you at least teach me some moves?
Get a good stance. And now you have your defense arm, and then your stuff.
So tell me a little bit about your costume, because this is so authentic. Did you make this yourself?
Some of it's me, some of it's Amazon. The mask is an actual legit Splinter mask. And I just modified it and put teeth and different things in it because it was just a rubber mask. Added fabric and things. The only thing that's foam that I made was my staff.
Oh, you made the staff?
Yeah, I did make the staff. There's a piece of PVC pipe in here.
Coolest thing is you have makeup underneath your mask, so it makes it look so authentic.
Yeah,
it's almost scary to look at your face.
I wanted to really be the character. So that was, the mask originally had eyeballs and I cut the eyes out and I wanted it to be my eyes.
Hey, this is Mark at the Great Lakes Comic Con. I'm here with comedian / comic book dealer Steve Bills. How's the show going for you, sir?
It's been going pretty good so far. I've had a lot of fun.
What are people asking for at this show?
Low prices. They want everything. I blew a lot of stuff out, so I mean, I really don't have a gauge on exactly what they're looking for, but they definitely responded to a lower price. So I had a lot of customers early this morning, especially on the CGC stuff. I definitely got some good sales, but it was definitely at the lower end of that spectrum, is what I experienced.
What characters are people asking?
Well, I mean, mainly it was artists. I sold a lot of Adam Hughes covers and a few other books, but not a whole lot of specific characters, you know.
Are you pretty new to the comic book dealing side of it? How long do you?
A long time. I did Goldman shows back when he was at the Dearborn, when Motor City was in its infancy, back when Michael was there. Yeah, I've been doing those shows for years. Yeah.
So having to deal with a lot of these customers here, you had to have employed some of your comedic abilities to deal with some of these people.
Well, it's a blessing and a curse, and I call it staying on my meds in the morning, trying to be normal because I'm not normal. The way I am, I'm friendly, but I do want to make people laugh, and sometimes it comes off because people aren't like that. But yeah, I use that. I use it.
Do you have an online presence?
No, I sell on eBay a little bit, but that's about it.
Where can people find you on eBay?
It's Trilogy Entertainment.
Are you a collector, and how long have you been collecting?
Well, since I've been a kid. I mean, I did the thing 12, 13 years old and, you know, collecting the Marvels and all the different comics. But yeah, I'm a huge collector, but I'm a cover collector. I'm not a reader. I haven't read a comic in years. I've tried reading comics, and normally I get to like the third, fourth page, and I'm reading my shampoo bottle instead. So basically, that's where I go with that. But I am a CGC collector. I have my jam is 72 Marvel picture frame, so I have the complete run, and I'm trying to get the whole thing graded 9.4 or better, and I think I'm at like 60%.
Okay, well, let's appreciate getting a comics point of view of comics. And this is Mark at the Great Lakes Comic Con with a comic, Steve Bills.
Hey geeks, it's Jill, and I bumped into a gamer cosplay. If you love Five Nights at Freddy, what's your name?
You can call me Cam, and I'm cosplaying Withered Foxy from Five Nights at Freddy's 2.
How long did it take for you to put your costume together?
So I do online schooling, so I just sat in my basement for a straight week. I missed half of my schoolwork.
How old are you?
I'm 13.
You're 13 and you put this all together by yourself?
Yeah, my parents don't really like this hobby because it's expensive.
Your parents don't like it? You do not have to be limited by your age to start cosplaying.
Hey, this is Mark at the Great Lakes Comic Con. As usual, I'm here with my good buddy Jamie Stewart of Fat Daddy's Comics. Tell us, what are people buying or asking for here?
Oh, definitely today's been the day for a lot of Silver Age Marvel titles in particular. A lot of X-Men have gone out the door. Silver Age Wonder Woman, lots and lots of Bronze Age horror, which is my true fetish in my middle-aged years. Yes. I came to horror late in my comic book collecting career. It was all about the spandex-clad warriors when I was a little kid, and have just really grown to appreciate the amazing artwork and mature storylines of that early 70s Marvel and DC stuff. So I always sell that stuff.
The great Wrightson and Adams and Mike Plug stuff.
Absolutely.
So tell me, so what DC people are going to be asking for in the next coming month here at the shows?
The speculation market is not as rampant as it has been the last 3 to 5 years. I think we've kind of gotten over the hump with new movies and TV shows announcing characters on them. Of course, most of them have been introduced already, and so and I think people have made adjustments to the speculation market, especially as a lot of these titles and movies are introduced as C-list characters, in the TV shows and movies, and there's just not as much bang. And of course, the recession has hit as well. People are finding out that comic books are not as important as groceries, gas, and food on the table. You can't eat comic books, so. But it is still, I think a strong market, and I think better things are on the horizon. So I think the Bronze Age is still going to be where it's at, but we are seeing a lot of early 90s interest, especially in stuff at this show. A lot of people have been asking for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Transformers, that kind of stuff. Mike's put on a great show celebrating all the anniversaries of a lot of those 80s franchises, and of course Land of the Lost with their 50th anniversary. So it's been a great show.
All right, well, it was a pleasure speaking with you, Jamie, as usual. And if you are out in the Midwest area, you'll find Jamie at all the different shows. You want to come check out his stuff. As usual, he's always got high-grade silver and bronze stuff for you collectors out there. Again, this is Mark at the Great Lakes Comic-Con.
Comics, beer, and sci-fi. These are my guys.
And Fat Daddies, come get you some.
Hey geeks, I just bumped into Skull Kid from Majora's Mask. How you doing? What's your name?
My name is Sean.
Hi, so tell me, how long did it take for you to put this together?
It took me roughly about a month to put together. I worked on it almost like every single night for probably like 2 or 3 weeks.
Very cool. What is it made out of? Because it looks like you've got some plastic, some foam.
So the mask, I believe it was EVA foam.
Okay.
The hat, I took like a baseball cap basically, and I used EVA foam to form it into like the sombrero-ish shape. And then the rest is like clothing that I rip and tear it up.
Very cool. Well, thank you so much, and enjoy the Comic-Con.
You as well.
Thank you, guys.
Hey, this is Mark at the Great Lakes Comic-Con here with Brad Richards. Tell us, Brad, what are people asking for or buying here at the show?
It's a complete hodgepodge. It's a different time now, so they're really into animation stuff, video game related. It's getting into those offshoots, especially 90s focused.
So what have people been like? What have they been buying from you?
So it's Sonic, Simpsons, Darkwing Duck, Earthworm Jim, like a lot of the weirder properties. Yeah, Spidey still is like the #1, but I would say very closely behind is Turtles. Like I've sold a ton of Turtles, not only this week, Ben, because of all the guests here, but just in general, people are going backwards to those 80s and 90s properties.
Tell us a little about some of the other stuff you got here for sale.
So Star Wars has continued to be really hot, to have original weapons, nice shape that's not all beat up. Those are still moving quickly, especially in the main characters. So been very, very busy on those. And then it gets into a lot of the offshoots again. So Star Wars is the lead, but I brought in humanoids, Micronauts, Centurions, Mask, all of that kind of 80s and 90s stuff just keeps bubbling up. Where it was not really sought after 15 years ago, it's now become significant.
It's because all those 80s kids now have money and they're going to go back to their childhood.
Right. Get everything that you always wanted or replace what you don't have anymore.
So let's use a little bit of your psychic ability. What do you foresee being the next top property, character coming down the pipeline?
I can't give away my secrets.
I respect that. I respect it. Anyways, thanks, Brad, for talking with us. And this is Mark. Hey, this is Mark at the Great Lakes Comic-Con. As usual, I'm here with Jason Jackson. Tell me, what are people asking for?
People are buying a lot of key books, back issues. We're also seeing a lot of sales in the cheaper books, the $2, $5 books, minor keys. Pops are flying off the shelves. Action figures. We've sold a few hot toys. It's kind of like a hodgepodge of everything that's sold today.
Well, you're having a good day.
So. It's a pretty good day. It's a great show as always. Mike puts on a great show. Little slower, I guess. Maybe the numbers are down. I'm not sure. I'm okay, but not a bad show at all.
So what particular characters are people asking for?
Always Amazing Spider-Man always does phenomenal. X-Men do phenomenal. One of the bigger things that's picking up is the anime items. More expensive 6-inch action figures like Mezco, Mafex. Those things are picking up. See a real slowdown like Star Wars Black Series and Marvel Legends. Those aren't really moving as fast as they used to. But Pops, sometimes, you do a show, Pops sell all day, then the next show, you don't sell a single Pop. I don't really see Pops going anywhere. They're always moving along pretty nicely.
Well, we appreciate your economic insight on the whole matter.
Indeed. We appreciate you stopping by, Mark, as usual.
I think I seen Evie on your back. What's going on? Hi, Evie. How you doing today? Hey, geeks. It's Jill, and I am at the Great Lakes Comic-Con, and I bumped into a cosplayer. Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well. Yourself?
Good. So tell me who you're dressed as and what your name is.
Well, I'm dressed as Sylveon from Pokemon, and my real name is Carl.
How long did it take for you to put this together?
I'll say about a few weeks to a month, yeah.
Well, very cool. I love your costume. Thank you so much.
Hey, this is Mark at the Great Lakes Comic Con. I'm here with Lauren Becker. Tell us, Lauren, what's people buying today?
Oh my God, what aren't they buying? My best seller right now is Justice League versus Godzilla versus King Kong. The stack was up to here before. Now there's like few copies left.
Now we're right in front of all the newer books, right? This is like the newest stuff that's come out in the last month.
Stuff that came out like a couple weeks ago to things that came out like about a year or so ago.
What else are people asking for in terms of say the older stuff?
Still looking for Silver Age Marvels like Spider-Man. Sold a couple of Silver Age Captain Americas. Golden Age, I've had a lot of interest in looking, but unfortunately this isn't the show where I sell a lot of it. The Silver Age Marvels and people looking for Silver Age DCs too.
Has it been a good turnout for you this?
It's been all right. It's been decent. Just waiting for the granddaddy, the Motor City Comic Con. That's where we're going to be really slammed.
Oh, what do you foresee being the next hot book people are going to be asking for?
Ooh, that's a good question. Well, like I said, Justice League Godzilla Kong is actually ending in 2 months. There are DC's coming out with some facsimile editions of Superman versus Muhammad Ali, so that's going to be pretty cool. There's this new miniseries from Marvel coming out called Blood Hunt. There's a regular edition and there's a not safe for work polybagged edition, which I think is going to be very, very underordered.
Appreciate talking to you, Lauren. It's always great to have your insight. You are one of the premier dealers at every show we go to.
Hey geeks, it's Jill, and I bumped into Blitzwing. Hi Jeremy, I know we see you all the time. You're one of our favorite cosplayers. So it's the 40th anniversary, guys, of Transformers. How do you feel about that? Don't say old.
40 years ago, I would almost have been born, so not old, nostalgic.
There we go, nostalgic, I like that. Well, tell me, why the original?
The originals are what I grew up with, the old cartoon, and I like the voice cast from the originals, the artwork. That whole era of cartoons was my favorite, so.
Very cool. Well, I thank you for celebrating and dressing up for the 40th anniversary. You guys, make sure to check us out, Comics, Beer, and Sci-Fi.
And I'm here. Let me do that again. Hey, this is Mark at the Great Lakes. Start over. And I'm here with Tony Capo. He's with Hi, this is Mark. I'm here with this midget right here. Yes. And beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
That sounds right. Wait. Whoa.
No. I'm getting
Pre-horror or the pre-golden or the pre-code horror golden age. Oh my God.
Hey, this is Mark with your porno review here with Expert G.
Hey Geeks, it's Jill, and I am at the Great Lakes Comic Con with my children. This is my daughter, Morgan.
It's me, Mario.
How did you whip this together so quick?
It's me, Mario.
Well, what else do you know?
Me and Mario. Hi, my name is Morgan, and we're here with Pikachu today. Hi, Pikachu. What made you dress like this?
So I was, when I was small, in the 90s, I grew up with the Kanto Pikachu and Ash, and so Pokemon's been basically with me since I was a kid.
And we're here with Black Panther. Can you tell us why you dress like this?
The movie, and I like the African culture that's behind it.
Can you tell us how long it took you to make this costume?
About a couple of months.
Do you do any other cosplays?
Yes, I do. Thor, the mighty Thor. I have about 5 costumes of Thor.
Nice.
And 2 costumes of the Black Panther.